Okay, well, I show it's a minute after. We'll go ahead and get started and hopefully get some questions answered. I'm Lisa Milam. I'm the Director of Recruitment and Workforce Management in Human Resources, and I'm going to try to facilitate today. I want to invite you to drop questions into chat so that we can hopefully address as many questions as we can get to. We did receive a few questions from registration, so we'll be trying to tackle those first. But before we do that, I want to ask the panelists to introduce themselves and so you can see what areas we have represented here today. So I'm looking at my screen. I see Janelle on my left, so I'll ask her to go first, and then I'll call on you all to introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Lisa. My name is Cobra Diaz. I'm the Director of Accommodation and Accessibility Services with Equal Opportunity Compliance in Title IX.
Thanks, Janelle. Bridget, you're up next.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bridget Johnson. I am UAF Director of HCM Administration and Support and also Payroll Director.
Thanks, Bridget. And next, I see Catherine.
I'm Catherine Moore. I'm the Assistant Director of Benefits.
And Eva.
I am Eva Cordero, and I am the Director of Academic Human Resources in the Office of the Provost. Thank you. Perfect.
I want to thank the panelists for being here. And we've done a few of these now, so some of us are old hat at this and really like this format of being able to take questions and answer and hopefully have some good knowledge when we leave here. We did get a few questions about a hot topic, which is the payroll frequency change that's coming up for all of us. And so I wanted to ask Bridget if she could maybe get us started with some information about that, and I'll be monitoring chat and see if that brings up any specific questions for you, but maybe just an overview to get us started.
Sure, Lisa. The pay frequency change is going into effect April of 2022, which is just here in about a month and a half. We are moving all payrolls, everybody that's paid currently, on a monthly basis to a semi-monthly basis. There is a pay frequency change question and answer website that I'm going to post into the chat that answers a lot of questions that we've received so far. If you'll look at the website and you still have other questions, or you're getting other questions that we need to be thinking about to provide to our employees, please let me know. And I'm going to drop that in chat now, Lisa.
Thanks, Bridget. I don't see any questions, and that's surprising because we have heard of some questions that are out there. So feel free, even if we move to another topic, if you think of something on a previous topic that you want us to expand on or want to ask the payroll expert about it, that would be fabulous. But not seeing any questions, I think I'll move on and just kind of tackle the next question that we got in advance. And again, monitoring chat to see if there's questions that come up as we go. But the next question that I saw is for you, Catherine. It's about our health plans and some of the differences between classic and premier, difference in premiums, out of network, and that kind of thing. I didn't know if you could maybe give a overview of that may help folks understand that better.
I sure can. So our classic plan is our pretty much middle of the road plan. It has the medium tier as far as our deductible and out of pocket costs go. I don't want to call numbers out here just because that's going to bog us down. But if you want specifics, by all means, please reach out to me and I can send you a comparison of our plans side by side for you to go through. But classic plan, medium, out of pocket, medium, deductible. It is in network only. So if you went to an out of network physician, it would not be covered at all. Premier plan covers both in network and out of network. It is our highest plan as far as cost to you, but it is our lowest plan as far as deductible and out of pocket expenses. Co-insurance rates on the classic are 20%. And on that health savings, they are 10%, 25% and 10% on the, not health savings. I'm losing my mind, y'all. 25% on the classic, 20% on the premier. And then of course, we also have the health savings, which is our high deductible health plan, lowest cost to you, highest out of pocket and deductible. Again, I have, and their premiums are classic is middle of the road, premier is highest, health savings is the lowest, but we have too many tiers and brackets for me to go through all those costs.
Are there some tools that they can use that will help them? And I know we're not in a period right now when we're making those choices, but are there tools out there that can help them make those choices?
Absolutely, or they can schedule an appointment with me or one of my teammates, and we're happy to look at your individual situations and go through it with you and guide you depending upon what's going on. On our system website as well, there's breakdowns for each plan and the coverage for the most common claims such as diabetes, pregnancy, broken bones. So to give you an idea of what those costs look like on each of our plans. So if you reached out to one of us, we could sit down with you, or we can send you those resources via email or Teams.
Thanks, Catherine. I'm going to go ahead and take a question that was just dropped in the chat, because I'm going to also toss that to Catherine because it's your team. I don't know that it's you specifically, but the question is, who do I contact about increasing my 401k percentage input or contribution?
So the contribution is increased through Workday. If you need help calculating your maximum, whether that be for the match or for hitting the IRS limits, you can reach out to me or Tracy Riggs. We both have access to help you through that process. If you're trying to change your beneficiary or the funds that you are elected in, you either contact the vendor, TIA, or Fidelity.
Perfect. Thanks, Catherine. The next question I saw that came in previously is actually not for one of our panelists, but I'm so thrilled. I just checked my attendees to make sure she was here. We actually have a new team member in HR, so I thought this would be a good chance for her to introduce herself. The question was about staff development opportunities that are planned, and who I want to introduce at this time and invite her to come off camera if Terry can help me with that, is Ashley Ingram, who's our new Director of Talent Management and Human Resources. So Ashley, I think you're on. If you want to maybe just introduce yourself, and I know I think you've been here all of 3 weeks, so I don't know you'll have all of the answers to that staff development opportunities, but maybe just something broad about plans and direction for that area within HR.
Of course. Can you hear me, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have the option to turn my video on, but at least you all can hear me. So
We can hear you.
good. So it's nice to meet everybody. As Lisa said, my name is Ashley Ingram, and I'm the new Director of Talent Development. She said I've been here 3 weeks, and that's true. And we've had 3 snow days in that time. But right now I am going through and meeting everybody on our HR team and key partners that we work with outside of HR so that we can develop a more comprehensive learning and development strategy for our employees. And so right now I am at the state of learning and understanding what are our current programs, how have they been successful, what are our employees' reactions to those programs, and we will be looking at and evaluating our current and future state needs. In the meantime, I am putting in the chat is a link to our employee development program calendar. And so on that calendar, you can see all of the currently scheduled events that we have going on. And if you have any feedback or suggestions that you'd like to share with me in terms of programming or options, please feel free to reach out to me. And I hope to have some more detailed information in the coming months as we put our strategy together.
Thanks, Ashley. And I'm going to put Janelle on the spot because I know her office does a lot of programming and offers a lot in terms of development as well. So I didn't know, Janelle, if you might highlight, I know you may not have specifics, but just some of the offerings from your area.
Thank you, Lisa. Yes, most of the training that is required for employees and or supervisors, OEOC has been able to put into Workday Learning. So that should have been assigned to you. Even if you've already done it or you have new employees, they'll get auto assigned, but you can go out there and register for other trainings. We also have the search committee training for individuals who will serve as search committees on job requisitions. You can do that at any time to make sure you have your certification up to date. And we're also putting in additional trainings. I know there's some DEI trainings that's going in, and we're looking at some other awareness trainings from our office, and then some things that we don't put in the system yet. We have the religious conversation series that my office puts on, and other trainings is forthcoming, especially those from the Title IX office. They just had the Title IX Tuesdays this week, and that's something they're going to be putting on more frequently as well. So please look out for those informations.
Thanks, Janelle. We had a couple questions that we weren't completely sure we understood. So was going to kind of toss them out there. And if who submitted these could maybe put a little bit more clarifying information in chat, that would be great. There was one about how requests are handled and if it's going to be moving into Workday. And we weren't sure what process that referred to. We all had our guesses before the panel started, but I hate to answer incorrectly. So if the person that submitted that could just kind of clarify what specific process that they're inquiring might be moving into Workday, that would be great. And then we did have a general question about classified pay salary schedule that we weren't sure the specific question there. So again, if you submitted that question or if that sparked a question, me putting that, then that would be great. Perfect. I just had Stephen Ritterbush submit the question about the processes. And he says it wasn't to any particular process, and inquiring about if any in general are moving. So I'm gonna just kind of put that to the panel because I think that could affect any number of our areas. A lot of things are in Workday, and I think most things are at least planned to be going into Workday. But Janelle, if you maybe want to take it first and see what sparks with the rest of us as far as business processes that may move into Workday. Good question, Stephen.
Yes, as appropriate, we're always reviewing any of the remaining processes that are offline. It's not appropriate for everything to move into Workday. Some things are very specific to our campus, and therefore, those type of things wouldn't move into Workday. I can say like one specific example that is changing with the new enhancements is the example of for our external waiver process. We had a offline form. Now that is moving into Workday, but all of that is reviewed, and we work with the project team along with the other institutions for the appropriateness as those move into processes.
Thanks, Janelle. Eva, anything from yours? I looked over the folks here, and there are a lot of folks from academic areas here. Is there anything, and again, not to put you on the spot because there may not be, but anything that came to mind when that was asked that might be getting more automated from the academic side?
No, just a reminder that any classes or anything that's taught online still needs to go through a remote work request. And regardless if it did before, you need to now. If it's an online class, you still need to do it. That's been a really common question. If it's through global, you still need to do it.
Thank you for that, because that's that's something that I've been trying to make sure that we have collected. And the remote work request isn't just the permission, because again, if somebody was hired to teach a remote class or to teach an online class, that's obvious, but it's also kind of the agreement with the university, and it covers a lot of areas from equipment to the use of how you're going to use your home or safeguard confidential things. So it goes beyond just the permission itself, but also the agreement that we have with that person. So yes, if you're working remotely or have that approval, make sure that you have that official form. And right now, unfortunately, Stephen, that's not in Workday, but hopefully that'll be one of the processes that will move into Workday. But right now, that is a form that's accessible from the policy. Janelle, help me. Anyway, it's a Fayetteville Policies and Procedures. I'm right there, but I can't get it. 9.13, I'm thinking, but that may not be right, but it is linked to that policy. Catherine, Bridget, anything there with processes or anything that came to mind with the question? I guess most of the benefit stuff's already there and has been there. So that's been one of the good things about having system-wide benefits that are all uniform. One of the things that's been difficult with Workday is, we do have some things that are similar to other campuses and some things that aren't. So it's something that we continue to work on getting things moved in. There we go, 412.3. I wasn't even close. I said like 9.3. I guess I got the 0.3, but that's it. Yes, Fayetteville Policies and Procedures, 412.3 is the flexible work arrangements, including remote work, and the application is linked there. So right now that is the way to access that. All right, good question. Let's see. I'm not seeing other, oh, go right ahead, Shauna.
Thank you. For flexible work arrangements or remote work requests that are based on a disability, I want to make sure we also call out that those would go through my office. The request form is on, if you go to oeoc.uark.edu, that's where you would find the request forms for that process. We facilitate for faculty, GAs, student workers, I'm gonna say it that way, GACAs, and then also for staff as well. So please make sure you go to our website if you have a disability.
Thank you, Janelle, and that's an important point. I'm glad you jumped in with that. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions right now. And again, we've got folks from OEOC, Provost Office, HR, payroll, benefits, recruiting. Would love to answer your questions, and I think I'm out of our prepared questions. So I'm just going to toss it to the panel and just kind of see if there's other things. I appreciate Eva with the remote work. Are there other kind of hot topics that might be good? We've got about 55 people signed on now. Other topics that might be timely to remind people of. I'm going to go first with performance reviews and see if that strikes any questions. We are in the process of launching performance reviews. It is a rolling launch just because some of the choices that are made between whether to include evaluations or not include evaluation or self-evaluations, depending on how far down in different supervisory organization that goes, we have to launch those areas individually. So don't panic if you've not seen anything on your end yet, but hopefully by the end of the week or beginning of next week, you'll see that those have been launched for your area. Keep in mind, if your area is one that chose to do it with self-evaluation, then the inbox item actually goes to the employee. So if you're a manager, you would not see that yet. It would come to you after the employee completed that. If it's without self-evaluation, then the first inbox item goes to the manager. So we're hopeful that process will go smoothly. And that was one of the reminders that I wanted to let you know, is that is launching. The reviews are due by March 31st, and we'll hopefully get 100% of those reviews back in. And that is for classified and non-classified staff. Faculty reviews are done differently. So for classified, non-classified staff. All right, panelists, anything else that you want to comment on? Any hot topics or anything?
There was a question put in chat. Forgive me.
Go right ahead.
I'm trying to catch the sneeze midway. So the question says, excuse me, let me scroll back up. It says, why are some departments require you to be disabled in order to work remote, or they only allow certain employees depending on who you are to work remote? So just as a reminder, there are two different processes, because with individuals with disability, we have that falls under a different law and university policy, and we have different obligations under the ADA, and there's different review process under the ADA. So it's not that you have to be disabled to get a review for remote work. It's just there's two different processes. And so if you go through if you have a disability and want to go through the ADA process, you can. However, any employee can do the request through the normal process, even individuals with a disability. It's just that the reason for the request cannot be based on the disability. If the reason for the request is based on a disability, you go through the ADA process as dictated by university policy. And so then again, that review is done. If you look at the policy for remote work, that talks about specific parameters, but under the ADA, we do have to do that job analysis. It does have to be reasonable. You do have to have a position in which it allows for those kind of work. And there's other parameters as well. I'm speaking very, very generally. Every case is reviewed on its own merits. And so then we would do that review process under the ADA, my office looks at the medical. We don't share that with the department, but that's just to certify that there is a disability. So again, there's just different rules that we have to follow as an institution. And so there's different parameters there.
And I'll take the one. There's a question about kind of the process for approving just the remote work requests that aren't associated, that would be going through the policy application as opposed to the ADA portion. And the way that policy is written, the request should go up through your chain of command. And that was intentional because we did want, the vice chancellors were wanting to have some visibility into requests that were coming in their area and how those were getting reviewed. So for the person that asked that question, the requests ideally are supposed to go through that chain of command up to the vice chancellor. Up to the vice chancellor, it's a recommendation or a comment on if the position is appropriate and if it's supported, and then the ultimate decision it would be at the vice chancellor level. All right, it's a question that I should know and I don't, so I'm going to toss it out and see if any of my extra smart panelists know. I think I know, but I'm scared to answer it incorrectly. IT positions that were just converted July 1 to non-class, are those going to be eligible for non-class raises, or will those be eligible for classified merit and COLA? I think I know the answer, but I don't know for sure, so I don't want to toss that out. And I'm not sure. Let me see if we have any of our comp people on the call. They're quickly hanging up if they're on. They're like, we're getting out of here before she calls on us, but I'm going to see if any of them are on there. Yeah, unfortunately, I see who asked the question, and I will try to get you an answer to that. Like I said, I'm 90% that I know, but I do not want to say it out loud without confirmation from one of my comp folks that will correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not seeing where they're on the line. So I'm gonna not answer that and get back to that person separately. So I'm sorry that we don't know the answer to that. We know some answers, but we don't know that one for sure. All right. There's a question, extra help employees still need to go through the same remote work agreement, correct? That is correct. That policy covers all staff, classified, non-classified, and faculty and extra help. So anyone that's working remotely, again, if they're not going through the ADA process, if they're requesting to work remotely, or as Eva pointed out, was hired to work remotely, they still need to go through that approval process that's attached to the policy, Fayetteville Policies and Procedures 412.3. So that is correct. Good question. Okay. And I do see the other person that also wants the answer to the question about the IT position. So I'll make sure those get to you. Other questions or thoughts from our panelists? I'll start singing if nobody has any.
I have one thing to call out. I wanted to make sure also, we have an accessibility website that addresses accessibility on this campus, the contacts, the resources. It also talks about creating accessible events. Our campus, especially as we are some remote, some hybrid, in this kind of place where we're really utilizing Zooms and Teams and things of that nature. I want to make sure that we're all doing our part in making sure that all of those are accessible for individuals. And so we do have just some resources about creating accessible events. We have resources about how to create accessible documents and other things of that nature. So I want to make sure we have that there. And there's even information about, for when we have graduation, for people with housing, all that kind of stuff. We made a one-stop shop. So, because that's one of the things when I first got this role, I heard is I have to go everywhere to get information. So now we have one place.
Thank you, Janelle. Other questions that we can answer for you, or other thoughts from our panel that might be helpful and timely. Catherine, do you want to comment? And I'm really putting you on the spot, so she might suddenly lose her connection and not want to answer, but we did just have inclement weather, and I know there's always questions about how that's entered and how that works. anything that might help if people are having questions or had concerns about the inclement weather days.
Yes, I can. Inclement weather days. So we had 3 last week. So if you did not work during those days, you should use inclement weather time off. That's going to go for our extra help hourlies as well as all of our appointed positions. If you did work those hours and you were essential, you should use inclement weather essential code on the time entry screen. And if you, I think that's it now, isn't it?
What about if you're not essential, but you worked, you just don't enter?
Oh, if you are not essential and you worked, if you are exempt, nothing, just adjust your time off by the time that you worked. If you are non-exempt, you should log those hours as hours worked. I did get an answer to the compensation question.
Take it away. Thank you so much. I was going to try to send it to Connie or someone, and I
did
not coordinated enough to have multiple screens up and still maintain eye contact. So I quit trying. So
the positions that converted to non-classified will be eligible for the non-classified raises.
And non-classified raises are all merit-based. There's not COLA or other adjustments for non-classified. Thank you, Catherine, so much. I appreciate it.
Well, while I'm talking, I should probably bring up COVID time off.
That'd be great.
So we seem to be backlogged here in my office with COVID time off requests. And a lot of that is due to the paperwork not being submitted along with the request in Workday. So while you can request the time off in Workday, if the COVID time off form and documentation of your positive diagnosis or school closure is not included, we will not approve those requests. You should, if it gets sent back, there's instructions when it is sent back. You also should receive emails from us from HR lead. So we are doing our best to communicate with you and get those processed, but until we have the paperwork on file, we cannot approve those requests. We, as of, I don't know, 3 o'clock-ish, we had probably 55 in our inbox. So I do know that they're there and we are trying to get the paperwork and get those approved. And I know some people are sick and it's delayed. So, you know, we're trying to be patient with you and get those as we can. If you could upload that into your request when you initially submit it, there is a place for attachments. We will gladly accept it that way. So just keep that in mind. And we do have a new form for 2022. I'm not sure if it's on the website yet or not. Hopefully it is. We just updated it last week. So Teresa, it is the COVID leave request form. But if you send me the old form that is on the website, that's fine. Or I can email or send it to you in Teams when I get off the call here.
Thank you, Catherine. I do see the additional kind of personal question about the remote work policy. Please feel free to reach out to me separately and I'll try to answer that for you. Thank you, Catherine. Catherine, what about COVID leave? Is it going away? Is it, what's kind of the plan with that? I know I've had that question a few times.
As of now, the direction from the system office is that you have 80 hours available. So once you use it, it is gone. But if you still have it, it should be available through the end of this calendar year. It'll remains to be seen on if we'll roll that over into 2023 or not.
Thank you. So if you used it in 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic, it's gone. But if you
Correct.
haven't used it or if you haven't used a portion of it, then it would still be available.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Good questions. I figured we couldn't get through this without talking about COVID. So that's a sign of the times for sure. All right. Other questions or thoughts? Trying to see if there's been anything new drop into chat. I think we've answered everything that's dropped in. Catherine, somebody's asking for a link to the COVID form. If you can drop that in chat, that would be fabulous.
I'll try.
I did think of one other thing on performance reviews. We do have a training tomorrow, and you can find the link in the link to the EDP calendar or the calendar that Ashley dropped in the link to. And so if you want to register for that, I think it's at 3. Again, I can't, not good at multitasking, but I think it's at 3 tomorrow. And we're going to be kind of walking through the Workday process of completing the performance review. And then we're hoping to have a little bit of time to talk about best practices, some pitfalls, some things like that, and hopefully have time for some questions. So if you are expected to do reviews and have some questions or apprehensive, be sure you've taken the Workday Learning training first. There's 2 different trainings that if you're a manager, there's 2 different trainings you should take, one for performance reviews for managers and the one for employees. And then if you're not a manager, I would encourage you to take the training for employees so that you can kind of be prepared for how that's going to work. And all of us are, even us that are managers, are also managed. So it's good for us to know both ends of that. Let me see, I haven't read this question, so I'm just going to try to read it out loud. If I need hands-on help with something in Workday related to HR benefits, an issue on my home screen since open enrollment, is there someone who I could contact? So Catherine, it sounds like somebody's having an issue with their benefits screen.
Yes, you can reach out to myself or Tracy Riggs.
Perfect. And then we did get, Laura, thank you for that. There is COVID-19 guidance online, which is always going to be our most up-to-date guidance. So be sure, tossed out some questions about COVID leave and so forth. But if you consult that, the guidance, and Terry, thank you, just posted the link for me. If you consult that guidance, that's always going to have the most up-to-date information. And I know with the pandemic, things sometimes change quickly, and new information or new things come on the horizon. So make sure you're checking that frequently, and that's going to be your best source to get most up-to-date information. Thanks, Laura, for that. Appreciate it. Oh, that's a good question. Catherine, will employees be able to use COVID leave if they test at home?
Yes, they can. We are accepting home tests that are on the CDC approved list. So you can go to their website, look at that list, although it's like most of the home tests at this point. And you can send us pictures of the home test as well as the instructions on how to read the home test as documentation for your COVID leave request.
Thank you. And I did receive my 4 home tests in the mail yesterday that that you could, I think it was on the United States Postal Service website where you could go out and request those. So it took a few weeks for them to get here, but there are resources out there for COVID tests. I know some towns have been, I live in Rogers, and I know there was some where the police were actually distributing tests at our local high school. So if you need home tests, you might want to look at some of those resources. Good questions. Don't make me threaten to sing again, because nobody wants that, I can promise you.
I think you should just sing, Lisa.
Yeah, nobody, I promise you, nobody wants that. That's not gonna happen. Okay. Somebody said I do. I'm going to assume they're saying that they want me to sing. So if that's what you're saying, that's very nice. But we're about 35 minutes in, and I certainly don't want to keep folks longer than we need to if there aren't questions, but I also don't want to miss the opportunity to share information. So I'm just going to turn to the panel one more time and just see if there's anything that that you thought of, anything that was sparked, any announcements or anything from your areas that might be a good time to share. If not, we'll think about wrapping up. But again, I'm going to keep my eye on chat to see if there are questions that are sparked by anything. So again, I won't call on you individually, but just anyone on the panel, anything sparked or any announcements, anything that might be good for our group. And Bridget, if you would review one more time the upcoming payroll info sessions, because I do think there's a lot of questions out there and some apprehensions. So if we can just be sure that they know when those are, that would be fabulous.
Sure. So earlier I dropped into the chat the questions and answers webpage that is live. If you navigate to hr.uark.edu and then click on payroll frequency change, to the right-hand side of that page, there's virtual information sessions that you can sign up for. There's approximately, I don't know, 10 or 15 different sessions currently scheduled. If any of those times don't work out for you, please feel free to reach out to me and my team, and we will accommodate whatever time works best to meet with you personally.
Thank you, Bridget. And hopefully that transition will be smooth. We in HR, we see this as such a good change. I think that once the adjustment and everything goes through, I think it's going to be a good positive change for us. There was another free resource for COVID tests that was dropped into the chat. So I appreciate that. I might go on there and get some more. So I got my 4 and I might try to get some more. So thank you, Laura, for dropping that. This one I'm going to toss to Janelle. The question is, if an employee has a suggestion for enhancement to Workday, how would they submit that suggestion?
You can go to workday.ur.edu and put it in through the ticket system.
Thank you. And another COVID question. Once a request for COVID leave has been submitted, how long does it take for approval? Toss that one to Catherine, of course.
Again, it depends on when we get your paperwork. So if we have your paperwork and it's submitted, it could be approved as quickly as 24 to 48 hours, depending on when it comes in. If it comes in over a weekend, it may take a little bit longer. If we're having to wait on the paperwork to be submitted by you, then it's in your court. Until we get it, we can't approve it.
Thank you, Catherine. And it seems like that's gone smoothly. They've weathered quite a storm for the last couple of years of COVID leave requests and approvals and paperwork and documentation. And it seems like that goes smoothly. So wonderful.
Hey, Lisa, HR, my team has put together some additional financial resources for people through the payroll change. They're also on that website that Bridget shared. The first one is this Friday from 12 to 1. We would love for y'all to participate in those as well. Regions Bank and TIAA are the main ones who are hosting those. And then Fidelity provided us with some pre-recorded resources that you can use as well.
Wonderful. Thanks, Catherine. I appreciate that. Big changes, good changes. All right. Well, seeing no additional questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. We're a little bit early. I'm going to hang on the line a little bit just to see if people have other questions or anything. If my fellow panelists want to do the same, that's great. If you've got other things that you need to do, that's fine as well. We want to thank you for coming. Again, we love having these kind of informal, especially when we can do them from the comfort of our offices, opportunities to answer your questions and to kind of take the pulse on what concerns are out there and hopefully be able to shed some light on some issues that you have. So I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank the panelists for making this time available and being put on the spot on some questions. That's always fun. And I want to wish everybody a health and a good afternoon.